Welcome to my series about all Chopin's music. Today we focus on this masterpiece, Impromptu number 2 in F-sharp major, Opus 36, the piece composed in 1841. So we have another Impromptu, the piece which nature is based on improvisation. And again, we have the piece that has a very specific construction, even though it's not ABA construction. We will have a little bit more parts than only A and B. What I played for you now is part A. I don't play the whole because we will keep analyzing and then I will play every part separately. I think that will be easier to absorb, I hope. I don't know about you, but if I were a music lover and not a musician, this piece for me would be difficult to understand. I mean, of course it's beautiful and I would enjoy it, but I would also have problems with understand certain parts, because it seems, if you know the piece in its entirety, you maybe agree with me that the parts seem not to fit together. Maybe just like an improvisation. Of course, I have other theories as well, which I'm going to share with you tonight. So let's start. And let's start immediately from the analysis. So the piece starts only with the left hand. Sorry for the mistake, but I was thinking about the question, what is this? Is this a melody already? It could be, but, well, at the beginning we think it's a melody. Until the right hand starts, right? Because then when the left hand plays this, then the right hand starts the melody. And do you know what left hand plays when the right hand plays the melody? Maybe you don't know, because, well, how could you know if you don't play the piece? And if the pianist hides the left hand, as he should, then it's difficult. So I play for you just the left hand, starting exactly from the moment when the right hand starts its melody. This is the left hand part. It was not a mistake. I really played the left hand. It sounds like the beginning. It's exactly the beginning. It is exactly the first 6 bars of the Impromptu. This is the first fascinating thing. Chopin starts the whole piece introducing the accompaniment itself. And only after the first phrase, the right hand starts the melody. Now, what do we read about this Impromptu in the book that I quote many times, as you know? Ferdinand Hessig, book about Chopin and his music. He writes that this Impromptu is undoubtedly the most beautiful of all. I disagree, but this is a question of taste. in my opinion, number 3, G flat major, is the most beautiful. But everybody can have his own opinion. It seems that this music is a program music, but Chopin didn't leave us any clue what program it is. And now it's very interesting because in the book about Chopin, written in 1873, so the first Polish biography of Chopin, written by Schulz writes that a tradition is saying, well, I will tell it from my head because it's much better. The tradition says that this piece has a program, and the program is that there is a mother and there is a newborn baby on this, I forgot the English word, but and she's standing with the child and doing like this and singing a song, and later thinking about him, that one day he will be a soldier and he will be fighting for his country, and there are angels singing, and later it's erotic. Well, I don't know. When I was reading this, my eyes get more and more and more and more open. I mean, I was like, what? To tell you the truth, I don't believe in this kind of image. This is just something that he had to make up himself. I don't believe that Chopin told anybody about it. Why? First of all, do you know Berceuse, the lullaby, written by Chopin? This was written for a child, right? And this is exactly the lullaby accompaniment. Here the accompaniment is not like the swinging. This is like walking, or I have a better explanation, better description. I wrote myself here, and in one day when I was playing this piece, and suddenly it came to my head that wow, this accompaniment especially, as you can see, it has no rhythm. We have constant, and it came to my head that it is just like the clock. When we hear every second of the clock, right? Tick, 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 tick. And I wrote here myself that this is the most beautiful counting seconds by a clock. And I would love to have such a clock, a beautiful clock, that instead of tick, 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 I would have this Chopin's Impromptu. So this was my first impression. Definitely this is not a swinging. It's Chopin wants us not to experience any kind of rhythmical gravitation. I think this is quite a good description. No rhythmical gravitation whatsoever. And now all part A that I've played for you at the beginning of the video, for me, is like an improvisation, but it reminds me of my own life, actually. And I tell you now, because that's my inspiration for that. So I have a friend who is also a pianist, but he doesn't play classical music. He plays pop music and jazz. He doesn't play jazz, but he plays pop music and this kind of stuff. He's a very good, but he play almost no classic composers. But every time when he visits me, and I have a piano, of course, and he loves to play, so he sits on the piano and starts to play. And always I sit next to him, and then we start to improvise together. he starts first on the left part of the keyboard. He starts something, of course, pop music, and then I join him and I start to play something that fit to what he's playing. And we are playing like this, sometimes for hours. And this is wonderful. I love it. And this impromptu, the part A, is for me exactly written like that. And now let's listen to this, having this in mind. The first pianist starts some melody. And then this pianist will continue the same melody. And the second person comes and starts to play the melody that will join the left one. The first phrase, the second phrase. Almost like in jazz music, don't you think so? And from the beginning. Now the right pianist starts to improvise more. Now the right pianist waits for the left. And now the most emotional moment. And now they both will talk with each other. Listen. Left, right, left, right, and the right, the jazz improvisations. And this is the end of part A. And then what do we have next? Part B. Suddenly the key changed. Okay, what was that? Some kind of signal maybe, but how it is written? We have the structure is 5 voices. Usually Chopin writes 4 voices, sometimes 3, but here we have 5. 5 voices choir. Who knows, maybe angels, I read in the book. Anyway, this sounds like a little like a choir. Definitely something that doesn't fit to the first part. Sorry. Okay, so what happened here? First, we had the melody in the upper register. Maybe woman. And now Chopin does the same like in mazurkas. Man answers the woman singing exactly the same melody. At the end. Listen to part C, the next part, also completely different, like another world. What is this? bridge. And we are in part A again. Finally! So A, B, C, A. Okay. What was this? A march. Definitely a march. Dum, da, dum, da, dum, da, dum, da, dum, da, dum, da, dum. First, this march is piano pianissimo. Very, very quiet. Then the soldiers maybe, right? They approach us and then we hear them close. And we want to do like this because they are so loud. But anyway, now I want to play with you with something interesting. Do you know some other piece of music that has this kind of march, very similar piece of Chopin's music? I'm 100% sure that you know. Maybe you can't think about it now, or maybe you guess. If I change the accompaniment of the left hand, but I will leave the melody in the right hand. You will immediately recognize what I think about. Yeah. In A flat major, opus 53, of course, written a few years after this piece. So in this piece, Impromptu in F-sharp major, we have the first ideas that later Chopin will put into this famous Polonaise. Wonderful thing. I mean, this is exactly the same thing. So here we have the march, and this march, as I said, starts very quietly and then ends when it's forte fortissimo. The left hand has huge jumps here. It's not easy to play clean, because when we have ta-tam, we have also the octave. It's not easy. It takes time to practice, actually. But never mind. This is not written to be difficult. It should create a huge power, and this is Chopin's way to create a huge power. Okay. After that, we have this strange bridge, and after this strange bridge, we have part A again, and then part A has the same melody like at the beginning. Exactly the same melody. The accompaniment is a little different. I mean, it is the same accompaniment that we had then, except here Chopin is asking it to play. Well, he writes it 3 times faster. Instead of pam, 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 we have ta, 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 ta. But these are the same notes. But listen, they are splitted. But it's exactly the same accompaniment. So the left pianist now is improvising a little. Also in a jazz style. But what is really fantastic here is, and now I show you, even if you are not a musician, I want you to see the beginning. Now I show you the beginning of the piece. The beginning of the piece, this is the melody. Let's say it starts from the second note, okay? Because late in the A prime it will start from the second note. So this is the note that it starts. Here we have it between the lines. Then we have it on the line. Between the lines, on the line. Between the lines, on the line. This is important, okay? So between the first 2 lines. Now, here. it starts here. Sorry. Yes, here. This note is the first note. Between the lines, between the two first lines, on the line, between the lines, on the line, exactly the same notation, the same notes, but not the same keys. You know why? Well, do you remember my video? I hope you watched my video about Nocturne in A flat major. There was a middle part in this Nocturne when the first time this moment the first time it was like one half tone lower, the second time one half tone higher. And here we have exactly the same thing. But I'm sorry, I'm just thinking how to explain it is the easiest way possible. Because this is really nice. If you have perfect pitch, you immediately recognize that the A prime is one half note, half tone lower than at the beginning. I have to show you this. Even if this is notated the same notes, well, you know why? Because of this miracle thing that we have here. Sharp. It's called sharps. Well, if you're a musician, sorry, it's a waste of your time. But if you are not, maybe it's interesting for you. And then later, when we have the second time this, then we have only one flat. That's why it looks the same, but it doesn't sound the same. Now I prove you. Okay, so first time it sounds. Second. Miracle, wonderful. Chopin is playing with us, with everybody. So now let's listen to this A prime. And the accompaniment is different. Second phrase. And we are back in the right track, in the right key. F-sharp major. And from this moment, they start to improvise together and they get more and more passionate. Listen to this, it's so fantastic, this moment. And this is the end of the second part A prime. It gets more and more and more passionate, and then starts the next part. And now the next part is the most mysterious one. A sphinx. Mysterious. Well, the whole impromptu is sphinx, but anyway. Why? Because it seems like it doesn't fit again. Let's listen to this first, then let's analyze it. That's hard. That's the end. So, it sounds like an etude, right? Like an etude. Does it fit to this calm, peaceful, beautiful music that we had before? Not at all. Well, I read I think Professor Mieczysław Tomaszewski wrote that this is a variation of the first theme. Maybe you can tell me, because I feel stupid now. When I read it, I tried, you know how many hours I spent trying to figure out where this variation is? Well, the only thing, we can try to sing this at the same time playing right hand, and maybe it will work, but it's, a very artificial. But it works until here, but then it doesn't. So, with my all respect to Professor Mieczysław Tomaszewski, who died, I think, last year or 2 years ago, a great musicologist, great. But in this case, I don't understand where he found the variation. I cannot find. In my opinion, it's just a new material. And of course, it must have some meaning. And it can be a wind, this like a wind, up and down very fast. But also it can be an improvisation, like jazz pianists sometimes they show off the technique. But recently, and now I want to tell you the inspiration that I have at this in this moment from my own life. Since almost 1 year, I live in a new place. This is my new house. If you watched my older videos about mazurkas and waltzes and ballads, I think you can see that everything is black, right? The whole room is black. So this was my old place. Now it's the new place, and that's why everything is white. I didn't want to have it black anymore. Never in my life. Because it was very depressing. But anyway, the acoustic was good. But what I want to say, I live in the countryside close to the mountains. It's quite a beautiful place here. And, somebody in the area here has pigeons. I don't know, it may be 20 pigeons. I don't know exactly which house is this, but every day, especially in the summer now, I can see 2-3 times a day that these pigeons fly, and they are flying together. I don't know if you know how they look, but this is like pet animal. Well, people have dogs, have cats, have hedgehogs and whatever, and they also can have pigeons. I didn't know that, but I remember that my uncle had. I remember a long time ago when I was 7, 8, he had pigeons. I remember, and every few hours, if you have pigeons, you have to let them free, and they fly, and they come back. This is so cute. So when they fly, my heart beats faster, and I love to watch them, because generally speaking, I love animals and especially birds. And I watch them, and they fly left and right together, everywhere together, exactly at the same distance. They keep the same distance between each other. This is fascinating. Sometimes over my house, sometimes farther. And this for me is exactly like that. It's that suddenly we open the cage for pigeons, and they fly away, and they fly. And now, first time is forte, written by the Chopin, but I think he also writes leggiero, which means light. And I'm pretty sure that this forte is for the left hand, not for the right, because it's impossible for me to imagine ugly, ugly, ugly. Even if I play light. I don't think he wanted like that. Right hand is an accompaniment to their left hand. And you know, generally speaking, it's not difficult to play. If you know how to play scales, of course, it is not that difficult because it's written extraordinary comfortable for hand. But for now, what is difficult for me is actually the memory thing, because it's so fast that I don't play it long enough. So sometimes I just can't think about exactly what are the notes, because there are so many. That's why I said before that it's hard, but it's in reality it's not hard. Give me 1 more month, and this will be really easy. And usually when we see pianists, I think you can see that the hand is not moving so much, it's just effortless playing. That's how it should be. So it's not very difficult. But what I wanted to say, the first time is forte, but the second time is piano pianissimo. And then it means that these pigeons are, in my imagination, they are far, far, far from us. So let me play it again, just to practice. And pianissimo. And then what do we have? Yes, choir. 5 voices choir, and then the answer. Exactly like it was before. At the end, the last 2 chords for me are exactly the end of Chopin's own improvisation. You know, Chopin was a great improviser. He loved to do it, but he didn't like that people are, after he finished, they are like, oh, this was so beautiful, and cry and clap and say, wonderful, you are the best and fantastic. He didn't like this atmosphere that he created with his music. So I don't know if you know, but when he ended improvisation like this, like he then he usually did something like that. Glissandos or some chords. Then, you know, people were so enchanted, and suddenly he put them on the ground. Their emotions from high to up in the sky just crushed the ground. Funny, but that's how he was. He didn't like this, you know, oh, you are the best, you are fantastic. He was a very modest man, in fact. And a perfectionist, that's for sure. Just to tell you what he wrote in the letter for his friend about this very impromptu. He wrote, I have composed uh, well, I'm sending you 6 pieces and also the 7th impromptu, which may be poor. I do not yet know myself, as it is too fresh. Chopin thought that it may be a poor piece, but it's too fresh to judge. It's funny. And he really meant it. That's really fantastic. Well, I don't think it's a poor piece, but I think it's a piece with some mystery. We, all of us, have to guess what's inside. I still exactly don't understand why we have this fast movement, I have to tell you. Maybe one day I will understand. Maybe then I will record a new video and explain my theory and my idea. For now, it's just for me like a new idea in the improvisation. That's why the piece is called Impromptu. Because it's really difficult to even connect this to the previous part. And the tempo is really fast, because here Chopin doesn't write slower or anything, so we have to keep the same tempo. And as you noticed, the piece ends with this choir, maybe angels, or well, the dialogue between the woman and man. And that means that this moment, when it appears for the first time, is the most important, because everything finished also with this moment. So that's how is this impromptu. Now let me play this for you in its entirety, and let's imagine two pianists playing, improvising, having fun, then the choir, then the march, then part A, but 1/2 note lower, then modulation, then more passionate, then in my head pigeons flying, or the wind, or fast movement, whatever. You don't have to think about anything outside music, and everything ends with the choir again. Thanks for watching, and see you soon on the analysis of the last Impromptu in G flat major. Bye bye.